Okay, so let's talk about one of the most powerful technology companies on the entire planet. One you've probably never really thought about. I'm talking about ARM. They are the invisible king of the chip world. And right now, as we're about to see, a massive battle is brewing for their throne.
I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. How is it even possible that one single company's designs are so baked into our daily lives that they literally power the tech used by 7 out of every 10 people on Earth? That's the mind-boggling scale of ARM's influence.
And just look at this number. We're not talking millions or even billions. We're talking over 300 billion chips shipped that are based on ARM's designs. It's a legacy written in silicon that has completely shaped the world we live in today.
And nowhere is their grip tighter than on the device you're probably holding in your hand right now. ARM has a wild 99% market share for mobile phone processors. You know, they don't just lead the market. At this point, they pretty much are the market. So how did they pull this off? How did they build this seemingly untouchable empire?
Well, it all boils down to a business model that is just, well, genius in its simplicity. They built their entire kingdom not by actually making stuff, but by designing the blueprints for an entire industry.
So here's the key thing to understand. ARM isn't like an Intel or a Samsung. They don't own these giant factories churning out silicon wafers. Nope, they're the architects. They design the processor blueprints, the intellectual property, or IP, and then they license those designs to pretty much everyone else, who then go and make the actual physical chips.
And that leads to this beautiful, simple, 3-step money-making machine. Step 1, design the best, most power-efficient processor architectures out there. Step 2, license those designs out. And step 3, the magic part. For every single one of those 300 billion plus chips that a company like Qualcomm or Apple sells, ARM gets a little piece of the pie, a royalty.
And the result of that model? This, a 95% gross margin. I mean, that's almost unbelievable. Because they're selling ideas, not physical things, their costs are incredibly low, which makes their business one of the most profitable you can possibly imagine. But, as we're about to see, the walls of that fortress are starting to show some cracks.
Yep, despite all that power and all that profit, ARM's empire is now facing a full-on assault. And this isn't just one challenger, this is a war being fought on 3 separate fronts, with enemies storming the castle from every direction. So, on the first front, you've got the old guard, Intel and AMD. These guys have ruled the PC and server markets forever with their x86 architecture. Now, ARM's designs are built on a philosophy called RISC, which is fantastic for being power efficient, but Intel and AMD's secret weapon is just pure inertia. Decades and trillions of dollars worth of software is built specifically for their chips, creating this massive, entrenched ecosystem that's incredibly hard for ARM to break into. Okay, the second front? This one is more like a full-blown revolution. It's called RISC-V, and it's an open-source alternative that is totally royalty-free. It's a direct missile aimed at the heart of ARM's business model. It basically promises a world without the ARM tax. And what's really fascinating here is the geopolitical angle. You have countries that want their own chip industries without relying on a foreign company, and they are flocking to RISC-V.
And believe it or not, the third threat comes from inside the castle walls. ARM's biggest customers, I'm talking Apple, Google, Amazon, are also becoming its biggest rivals. See, they pay for a basic license, but then they go off and design their own custom high-performance chips. This makes them way less dependent on ARM's standard designs and, most importantly, lets them negotiate lower royalty payments, squeezing ARM's profits.
Okay, so with all these threats coming from different angles, it really helps to just see the entire battlefield laid out. So let's pull up a map that plots all the players based on 2 really critical things: how much they cost and how mature their ecosystem is.
All right, this chart really lays it all out. Take a look at the top right. That's ARM's fortress. It's where ARM, Intel, and AMD all live. They have these amazing, mature ecosystems, but boy, do you pay for it. Now look over to the top left. That is the real danger zone. That's the opportunity. And for ARM, it's the existential threat. It's exactly where RISC-V is trying to go, a mature ecosystem, but with a tiny or even 0 royalty cost. That is ARM's absolute nightmare scenario. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly explains ARM's greatest defense. It's not just about having a slightly better chip design. Their real power, their defensive moat, is the 35 years of software, tools, and developer experience that's all been built around their architecture. That developer muscle memory is something that's incredibly difficult and expensive to just create overnight.
So the king isn't just sitting there in the castle waiting to be overthrown. Oh no, ARM has a very clear counterattack planned to defend its kingdom.
Let's break down exactly what they're doing.
So first, they're pushing everyone to adopt their latest architecture, ARM v9, so they can charge higher royalties. Second, to fight back against the open source appeal of RISC-V, they're open sourcing some of their own developer tools. Smart. Third, they're going all in on the data center, aiming for 50% of the market. Then there's the legal side. They have to win their huge fight with Qualcomm to prove their licenses still have teeth. And finally, they're playing the politics card, positioning themselves as a neutral choice to win over those national chip programs.
Which leaves us with this one big final question. ARM's entire empire was built on being the universal standard that everyone else built on top of. But the future of tech seems to be all about open source and deep customization. So in this new world, can the king adapt and keep its crown? Or is the reign of the invisible king finally coming to an end?